Live from WRAL News Headquarters in Raleigh, your number one source for local news. WRAL News, coverage you can count on.
Grab that big coat, headed out the door. Our temperatures right now with the wind chill are all below freezing, except over in Rocky Mount. I'll show you where we're headed with temperatures and 2 WRAL weather alert days coming up.
And happening right now, the transfer of power. Donald Trump is minutes away from taking the oath of office. We're going to take you live at what's happening right now.
And reality sinks in. We are live at North Hills, where a memorial to Friday's tragedy is growing as we learn more about the people remembered. Hello, everyone, and good afternoon. I'm Renee Chu.
And I'm Chris Lovingood. We're in for Jeff Hogan right now. We're looking at some dangerously cold weather in the next 48 hours, and that is why tomorrow and Wednesday are back-to-back WRAL weather alert days.
Elizabeth Gardner is in the WRAL Severe Weather Center with a look at how cold it will feel. Elizabeth.
It certainly looks beautiful. This is a live look at downtown Raleigh, but take a look at the flags in front of the legislative building. They are moving, so we do have a breeze. It's out of the north at 5 miles per hour right now with a temperature of 35. But that's making it feel like 31 officially. When you figure in the wind chill, it feels like 22 in Roxborough, 27 in South Hill, feels like 29 in Goldsboro, 32 in Fayetteville, and 29 in Southern Pines. So we're definitely seeing a pretty big difference in the wind chill versus the actual temperature. Actual temperatures are mostly in the mid to upper 30s across the region. So that wind is making a big difference. It's coming out of the north at around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Last hour, we were gusting to about 15 in the triangle, and it looks like that has died down just a little bit. Our temperature compared to yesterday, we're about 15 degrees either side of it, colder than this time yesterday. We're definitely feeling that. Our temperature about 35 through the afternoon. By 5 o'clock, 32, and then we drop quickly into the 20s. And the wind chill continues. It's going to feel more like 25 to 30 this afternoon. And then once we get to, say, 7 or 8 o'clock, we're solidly down into the teens. But by the time we get to tomorrow morning, it could feel even colder than that. We could see wind chills 7 to 13 degrees for tomorrow morning. So we do have a cold weather advisory for late tonight, tomorrow morning. So that makes it a WRAL weather alert day, just dangerous cold out there. And of course, we're looking at our snow forecast. We're beginning to see a few of the models trend with the precipitation slightly farther inland, but it's still less than an inch of snow across our area. I'm going to walk you through the timeline on Futurecast in just a few minutes.
Elizabeth, thanks. Michelle McConaughey is tracking the inauguration in the WRAL Live Center so you don't miss anything. She's here with what's happening right now in Washington. Michelle.
Well, Renee, just moments ago, J.D. Vance was just sworn in. That just finished up just a minute ago. You can see President-elect Trump heading up to the podium now. It looks like he will be taking the oath of office as we speak right now. Let's listen in. So this is happening right now. He is about to be sworn into office, surrounded by his family here. He just took the oath of office. He is now our president. This is a live look again in Washington. We are monitoring everything that is going on right now, but you just saw President Trump take the oath of office.
We did. Thank you, Michelle. And in his final hours in office, President Biden issued one last round of pardons.
On the list, public figures who've been threatened with investigation and prosecution. And as the ceremony began, a pardon for Biden's own family. WRAL's Ken Smith is here now. Ken, what was the logic behind these pardons?
Well, the outgoing president, first of all, calls these final pardons a preemptive move on his part ahead of President Trump taking office. Now, many of these last-minute pardons are family members, as you just mentioned, including this list you see here on your screen: James Biden, Sarah Jones Biden, Valerie Biden Owens, John T. Owens, and Francis W. Biden. The former president says baseless and political motivated investigations wreak havoc on the lives and safety and financial security of targeted individuals. his family members there. Well, last-minute pardons also went to retired General Mark Milley, who was appointed chairman of the Joint Chiefs by President Trump. Also, Dr. Anthony Fauci, who served during the Trump administration the first time around as the chairman of the National Institutes of Health, and members of the Congressional Committee who investigated the January 6, 2021 Capitol attack, including former Republican Congresswoman Liz Cheney. Former President Biden says his intentions with these pardons are to shield outspoken critics of President Trump against whom he has vowed revenge. Now, in a statement, the former president said the pardons do not mean any recipient is guilty of any crimes.
And over the course of today, President Trump is expected to sign many executive orders. Some reports have the number as high as 200 prepared and ready to be signed at different times throughout the day. We'll be tracking those orders for you. And today on our news starting at 4, WRAL's Sarah Kruger will break down the impact those orders will have on North Carolina's people and business.
There's a growing number of flowers and cards near the North Hills restaurant Coquette this afternoon. People are remembering Jonathan Schaefer, who was a server there. Police say he was shot and killed by Coquette's head chef, George Cullum, on Friday.
WRAL's Carly Haynes is live in North Hills this afternoon. Carly, you've been there. You've actually seen people stop by the restaurant just to sort of take it all in.
It's a solemn mood here today and much quieter than it was on Friday as people are remembering Jonathan Schaefer and also recalling just how chaotic and terrifying those moments were on Friday. We saw those flowers, those letters outside of Coquette on the windows. They're filled with heartfelt messages from Jonathan Schaefer's friends and coworkers. We stopped into businesses next door asking people what they remember about that day. The co-owner of Edible Art Bakery reflected on the chaos of those moments. Just feet away from her business, she saw first responders with head chef George Cullum right outside her window.
He was laying right here, right there.
How long was he laying there before police came?
Actually, he was laying over there and they moved him to here.
Oh, they moved him?
They moved him there because they wanted to make sure he was safe. At that time, they didn't know what was going on.
And the people inside businesses had no idea what was going on either. WRAL has video with two different angles of first responders carrying victims away from the restaurant. And outside of Coquette, there's a letter from management saying that they are working to take care of all of their staff members right now. Coquette is closed at the moment, and they'll be in touch about a reopening date. Carly Haynes, WRAL News, live in Raleigh.
A search warrant details new information regarding Jordan Porter. He's the man charged with killing a family of 3 over Memorial Weekend in Garner. Authorities believe Porter was drunk and high as well. WRAL's Chelsea Donovan found this new search warrant and joins us live from Garner. What can you tell us, Chelsea?
Yeah, so I wanted to set the scene where we're at. This is the intersection of US 70 and New Rand Road in Garner, and this is where that deadly crash occurred last summer, and you can see the 3 crosses here. Jordan Porter, 25 years old, ran this red light here going 82 and a 45. According to authorities, he's charged with killing Tyler and Susan Campbell, and their 8-year-old son Miles died a day later from his injuries. We previously reported that Porter and his wife were drinking and smoking pot at a bowling alley in Clayton before the crash. Authorities found beer bottles in the car after the wreck. Porter's wife, Shelby, told Garner police the car her husband was driving hadn't been inspected in years and also had steering and brake issues. I also found today that Shelby Porter is being investigated for obstruction of justice. As authorities say, it was discovered there was a conversation between Shelby and her mother, Carolyn Hines Mitchell, on May the 27th of 2024. This conversation discussed things as deleting pictures from Rainbow Lanes and Shelby saying, quote, "I just don't want anyone getting pics of what we were doing right beforehand and stuff." To which Miss Mitchell replied, "Yes, and all done." All right, so right now, Shelby Porter has not yet been charged for these crimes. She's simply being investigated for obstruction of justice by the Garner Police Department. Jordan Porter remains in the Wake County Detention Center under a $3 million bond. He has been indicted for all of these crimes and is awaiting trial. Live in Garner, Chelsea Donovan, WRAL News.
People here in the Triangle honored Martin Luther King Jr. with a day of service and observances. WRAL's Laura Levine shares how the 45th annual MLK Triangle Interfaith Prayer Breakfast united the community with the focus to carry on his legacy.
Hundreds of people came together here inside the Sheraton to honor the life and legacy of an iconic leader, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., but also celebrating resilience and the possibilities of what our world can be, what it could look like if we all come together. Praise and worship fills the room.
The relevant words of Dr. King still are so applicable today.
And moving speeches left the crowd hanging onto every word.
I wish he was still living so that he could speak to the injustices, speak to the divisiveness, speak to all the hate and the violence.
On this MLK Day, people from across the Triangle, from all walks of life, came together to break bread and to honor a dream that changed the nation.
A person who had great influence on me, my family, and my community.
Dr. King's life mission and commitment to justice and equity continues to inspire and push the next generation to lead.
As a young woman leading through this world, I see the challenges we face, the divisions, the injustice, and the fear of the unknown. But I also see the possibilities.
Mission Possible, the power of justice and radical love. It's more than a theme of this year's event, but where the ongoing fight is rooted in love for all. Keynote speaker Donna Coltrane Battle wrapped things up with a powerful message of why we're here today.
He embodied the world as it is in order to reach for the world as it should be.
And the Triangle Interfaith Prayer Breakfast wrapped up with a benediction and reminder to keep hope alive. Laura Levine, WRAL News in RTP.
And if you'd like to listen to the speakers, you can watch the event on the WRAL News app or WRAL.com.
Those telltale signs of brine are showing up on area roads. What else the DOT is doing to make sure your drive is safe when winter weather hits this week?
And dangerous amounts of legal drugs. Hear what Walgreens is accused of doing and the hefty fine the company could pay.
Keep watching WRAL News over the air Channel 34 and Spectrum Channel 1257.
And back here in the Live Center, President Donald Trump has been sworn into office as the 47th president of the United States. He is speaking right now. He thanked the crowd when he got up to the podium, including former President Biden and former VP Harris. He says he is returning to the presidency confident. He says the golden age of America begins now. Our country will flourish, safety will be restored, and the scales of justice will be rebalanced. Let's take a listen into what he's saying right now.
About it, that's going to change. We have a public health system that does not deliver in times of disaster, yet more money is spent on it than any country anywhere in the world. And we have an education system that teaches our children to be ashamed of themselves in many cases, to hate our country despite the love that we try so desperately to provide to them. All of this will change starting today, and it will change very quickly.
And back here in the Live Center, we just want to note that acting FBI Director Paul Abadi unexpectedly announced his retirement as Trump was taking the oath of office. He said it was effective at noon. He took command on Sunday following the departure of former FBI Director Christopher Wray. So right now it remains unclear who the acting FBI Director will be. We're staying on top of all of this. We will bring you the latest coming up at 12:30.
Michelle, thanks. The ceasefire appears to be holding in Gaza at this hour. Israel released dozens of Palestinian prisoners this morning as part of this first phase. NBC's Danielle Hamamdajan has the latest from Tel Aviv.
Well, one can only imagine what it was like waking up this morning for the parents of these three hostages. Not only knowing that they were alive, something they didn't know for 470 days, but to finally be able to hold them. And over to Gaza for the first time in a very long time. The skies over the Gaza Strip are clear and quiet. No sounds of Israeli drones or jets. How long will this last? Nobody really knows, but for now the focus is to take it an hour at a time, a day at a time. Those hostages were released and reunited with their families, and very emotional pictures beamed around the world. The medical staff here knew how to prepare, given that they've been through this before back in November 2023, but they didn't know exactly what to expect. And what we saw, certainly at a distance and on the surface, is that these women were doing relatively well, on their feet, smiling. Of course, there'll be further tests done. There are psychological implications here after so much time in captivity. It is complex, it is delicate, and it will surely be of great concern for their families and for the medical staff. Emily Damari, one of the hostages, 28 years old, also a British citizen. She was seen with a big smile on her face, her hand bandaged after having lost 2 fingers when she was shot on October 7th, the day she was, of course, abducted as well. Her mom saying this morning, Emily is doing much better than any of us could have anticipated. Danielle Hamamdin, NBC News, Tel Aviv.
We are watching for a Chapel Hill native to be released as part of the deal that's now in place. Hamas took Keith Siegel and his wife Aviva hostage October 7th, 2023. Aviva was released after 51 days. Siegel's friends and family are hopeful that he and Aviva will soon be reunited.
Frigid temperatures are bearing down on the Triangle this week, making for potentially dangerous conditions on the roads. WRAL's Sean Gallagher is live near the Johnston and Wake County borders, where crews are trying to prevent that from happening, Sean.
Yeah, that's right, Chris. They actually started their operations overnight because, get this, it's actually warm enough for it. Take a look. The roadway right here on our temperature gun shows it's about 48 degrees. I've seen anywhere from 40 to 45, so that's warm enough for the salt brine to take place and be effective. But that won't be the case once the sun goes down. You see, the salt that you see on the roadway here on I-40 may not be as effective for those freezing temperatures once the ground temperature goes down into single digits potentially. But DOT definitely doing their job in our area, trying to prepare the roads. I'm told they started brining roads overnight in Wake and Durham counties with a heavy focus on Interstates 40 and 540. But this storm is handing challenges to DOT crews that the last storm did not. The frigid temperatures this week are something they're focused on because that brine will lower the freezing temperature of the roadway to about 18 degrees, but temperatures expected to hit single digits overnight. They have to be strategic in how they prep certain roads.
So really, we were able to get out last night and start operations because our temperatures were up. And we're going to be able to go up and probably until dark tonight. But after dark, the temperatures are going to drop into ranges we're not going to be comfortable applying brine.
So Doug McNeil's region stops here at the border of Johnston and Wake counties, but he tells me they're in constant communication with all of the DOT crews in all of their regions across the state because they want to make sure interstates like I-40 are clear from Wilmington and back to make it safe for everybody on the roads. In Johnston County, Sean Gallagher, WRAL News.
And I saw some brine out there, too, just a little while ago when I was out and about. This is a live look at Wilson. The wind is going to be one of our issues in the next couple of days, today and tomorrow. You can see the whirligig spinning just lightly there in Wilson, but not too fast. We're looking at winds at about 5 miles per hour right now in some places. 35 is the temperature in the Triangle. Our dew point is 8. And anytime you see a single digit, what is that? Well, it just means that it's very dry. What that could mean is that as we start to see some snow moving in tomorrow night, that some of that could actually evaporate before it reaches the ground. Right now it is 30 in Roxborough, 35 in Durham, 37 in Fayetteville and Clinton, 36 in Rocky Mount and Goldsboro. Temperatures might bounce up 1 or 2 more degrees during the afternoon, but shouldn't get much warmer than it is right now. Look at the wind chill across so much of the country. The northern half of the country, almost entirely there in purple, is seeing a wind chill that is below 0, I should say. And Dallas's wind chills 18, Birmingham at 14. So really, really cold temperatures out there across the country right now. We take a look at our wind chill. Feels like 31 in Durham, 29 in Southern Pines, 33 in Goldsboro, 27 in Roxborough and South Hill. But it will feel much colder overnight. Actual temperatures today, 36 Raleigh, 34 Durham, 40 in Fayetteville. But our very cold temperatures tonight will be down into the teens. This is without the wind chill. 12 in Roxborough, 15 South Hill, 18 Goldsboro, 16 in Southern Pines. And the wind chill is likely to make it feel like single digits in most places. 10 in Raleigh, Goldsboro, Roxborough, South Hill, elsewhere looking at 8 to 9 degrees. So that is why tomorrow is a WRAL weather alert day. We have a cold weather advisory out for those very, very cold wind chills tomorrow morning. Let's walk through Futurecast and talk about our potential for snow tomorrow night. This is 5 o'clock, starting to see some of that wintry weather along the coast. Around 7 or 8, it begins to fill in across our area. And from Raleigh northward, our potential for anything measurable is minimal. But this version of Futurecast has that precipitation backing in a little farther, maybe a ½ inch in the Triangle, maybe closer to 3/4 of an inch around Fayetteville or Clinton. We're getting new information in all the time, so we'll continue to watch it. This is one of the older runs of the computer model, which had a slightly less precipitation. So the forecast really hasn't changed. We're still looking at less than an inch here in blue and maybe a little over an inch once you get to Clinton and farther east. We take a look at what's happening out there. The storm's sitting offshore. We'll see, how much it bobbles. If it bobbles back inland, we may see slightly more. The big deal is that we do have cold ground out there, and whatever falls could be very slippery, which is why the crews are out brining. Tomorrow, WRAL weather alert day for first thing in the morning, where we have those bitterly cold temperatures, and then Wednesday for the chance of slick roads with some light precipitation.
Call it the Pepsi price problem. Hear why the federal government says the company is playing favorites with its prices and what it means to you, the consumer.
And the domino effect, how the controversy surrounding TikTok led to a change on Instagram today. TikTok is back up and running in the U.S. this hour, but its future remains uncertain. President Trump says he plans to issue an executive order today, extending the deadline for a ban on the app. Now, Congress passed a law banning the Chinese-owned app over international security concerns. Trump also proposes the U.S. could take a 50% ownership of the app. TikTok was offline for about 12 hours over the weekend after the deadline passed. TikTok's shutdown had a ripple effect on other platforms. Instagram announced its new video editing software called Edits is available for pre-order. The program is expected to be ready in February or March. The move came shortly after CapCut, a sister app to TikTok, shut down. CapCut is expected to reopen its servers as TikTok comes back online.
Some video games were affected as well. The FTC says Pepsi is playing favorites. It filed a lawsuit claiming the company gives one big box retailer unfair pricing advantages and raises prices for other retailers. The commission claims this means customers pay higher prices for a soda when you don't buy from that favorite company. The thing is, the lawsuit doesn't actually name the retailer. Offering favored status to one company and not to its competitors violates federal law, and Pepsi is denying the allegations. Thousands of Costco workers across the country are cleared to go on strike. The union representing about 18,000 Costco employees voted last night to authorize this strike. Costco is entering its final rounds of contract negotiations with those workers before a January 31st deadline. The Teamsters union claims Costco is not negotiating with them constructively. The strike would start February 1st if an agreement is not reached.
The U.S. Justice Department is accusing Walgreens of filling millions of prescriptions that violated the Controlled Substances Act. The DOJ filed a lawsuit that says the company filled prescriptions for dangerous and excessive amounts of opioids. It also claims the chain gave early refills on controlled substances and pressured pharmacists not to check up on the prescriptions. The lawsuit claims this took place from August of 2012 until this month. If found liable, Walgreens could be fined $8,000 for each prescription filled illegally.
Walking the walk for Dr. King. Next at 12:30, we're going to check in on a memorial march in Raleigh on this Dr. Martin Luther King Day.
And it's a new administration. We will check in at the WRAL Live Center for an update on President Trump's inaugural address. First, here's a look at the winning lottery numbers.
Shot in 4K ultra high definition. Your #1 source for local news. WRAL News. Coverage you can count on.
A cold weather advisory is in effect for our entire viewing area, and it's just going to keep getting colder.
Tomorrow and Wednesday are both WRAL weather alert days. Elizabeth Gardner is in the WRAL Severe Weather Center to bring us up to speed. Elizabeth.
Yeah, it is cold out there right now. This is a look at our current wind chill. And we're looking at 31 in Durham and Raleigh, 27 in South Hill, 32 degrees in Fayetteville. So we're going to continue to see the cold air. As Chris said, this is a live look at Apex. People out and about, definitely wearing their coats, but it's pretty out. It is sunny. If you are out and about, you're going to feel that breeze. It makes it feel a lot colder than it really is. It's out of the north at 5 right now. And again, that temperature around Apex, 35 degrees. It feels like 32 in Fayetteville, 29 Southern Pines. It feels like 33 in Goldsboro, 27 up near the Virginia line. Our wind speeds are around 5 to almost 10 miles per hour. We've had some gusts, but the gusts have settled down a little bit. But it's likely to be a little bit breezy this afternoon, say 10 to 15 miles per hour. Our 24-hour temperature change is huge. It's about 15 degrees colder than it was this time yesterday. And watch those temperatures drop. We're below freezing, or we're at freezing at 5 o'clock and below freezing by 6 o'clock. And then we drop quickly on into the 20s and then into the teens. Look at the wind chill as we get into the evening. It'll feel like 27 at 5 o'clock, and we're easily into the teens after that, all the way up until we get to, say, the middle of the morning. Some of those overnight wind chills are going to be in the single digits, which is why we have the cold weather advisory in effect. It's going to feel like 7 to 13 degrees tomorrow morning. We take a look at our snowfall forecast. It's less than an inch for most of us. I'll show you why those amounts are so low and where this system is headed coming up.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Cold weather today did not stop crowds of people from honoring Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. on the streets of Raleigh.
The 45th annual Triangle Martin Luther King Jr. Interfaith Prayer Breakfast, it wrapped up not too long ago. Hundreds then took to the streets, starting at the state capitol, and then walked down Fayetteville Street to honor Dr. King. Organizers say this was an opportunity to focus on Dr. King's message of love and hope.
I think this day means to me a day when we try to look a little deeper, to look higher than our human selves. Dr. King always reminded us that he was a preacher first.
More events are happening later today to continue to honor Dr. King in Raleigh. That includes an evening musical celebration.
And here in the WRAL Live Center, President Trump giving his inaugural address right now. This is a live look. He recognized today is, in fact, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, but he also called today Liberation Day. He says America's decline is over. We will restore the integrity of America's government. He spoke about the border as well, said all illegal entry will be stopped and they will return millions that are in the country illegally. He says he will also send troops down to the border to stop it. Let's take a listen into what else he's saying.
We will not be deterred. Together we will end the chronic disease epidemic and keep our children safe, healthy, and disease-free. The United States will once again consider itself a growing nation, one that increases our wealth, expands our territory, builds our cities, raises our expectations, and carries our flag into new and beautiful horizons. And we will pursue.
And President Trump also commented on inflation, saying it is a growing problem in our country. He says it is a crisis that will get better. He says also America will become a manufacturing nation once again. He also spoke about the hostages that will be coming home as well from Gaza.
FEMA has extended transitional housing assistance for people affected by Helene in western North Carolina, based on a request from Governor Josh Stein. And because of the severity of Helene's damage and aftermath, FEMA approved an additional 60 days for people to find alternative housing. That moves the last night of stay from March 26th to May 25th. Hotel checkout is now May 26th. Dozens of trails opened again over the weekend for the first time since Helene. The National Forests in North Carolina announced 64 miles of trails in Pisgah National Forest have been cleared. Hikers are warned to take extra caution in case of unstable conditions. An interactive map of what's open is posted on the forest's website at g5trailcollective.org.
The Blue Ridge Parkway Foundation says trails can help the region rebound economically. Many communities along the parkway depend on tourism dollars, and that's something they just didn't see this past fall. The foundation wants to help those areas become more resilient and be ready when the weather improves.
We're seeing, especially on the North Carolina end of the parkway, where 150 miles or so of the parkway are still closed, how much tourism stopped.
Now, to put that into context, the parkway is 469 miles long. That means about 32% of it is still closed. It runs through 29 counties in North Carolina and Virginia, too.
North Carolina has the 5th highest number of people in the nation signed up for health insurance through the Affordable Care Act. The Department of Health and Human Services released new numbers. As of January 15th, 975,000 people in North Carolina had the marketplace plans. Florida tops the list, followed by Texas, California, and Georgia. More than 24 million people nationwide are now signed up for the plans. Fixing the housing puzzle, the local counties that will get a helping hand from UNC Chapel Hill in solving the affordable housing problem. And yes, apples can get sunburned. Hear the solution to save the fruit and why that's important for our planet. For news, traffic, and weather of the day, make sure to download the WRAL News app.
A program that addresses affordable housing at the local level leads off our county-by-county coverage. 6 counties in our viewing area will be part of a statewide move to address affordable housing and related issues. Locally, those include Chatham, Cumberland, Lee, Harnett, Sampson, and Warren counties. UNC Chapel Hill's Our State, Our Homes program will last 18 months, and the goal is to create relationships between government, nonprofit businesses, and faith communities in impacted areas.
In Cumberland County, the town of Hope Mills is hitting pause on plans for a new police substation. At a previous meeting, the police chief asked to purchase a new building. He said the brand new public safety center is already out of space. After examining the building in question, leaders decided last week not to fund the purchase. And in Wayne County, the school system is now accepting lottery applications for the district's 3 special purpose schools. The Wayne Early Middle College High School serves grades 9 through 13. The Wayne School of Engineering and the Wayne School of Technical Arts start with 6th grade. Applications are due by February 28th.
North Carolina's drug tax. Dealers are required to pay taxes on their drugs, but tax collectors are not allowed to tell police. WRAL investigates how this works and why some argue this is double jeopardy. And is champagne losing its pop? Sales of the bubbly are dropping around the world. 3 of the reasons experts are blaming for this. That's coming up.
Welcome back. Beautiful blue skies and lots of sunshine out there. Not doing much to warm us up, though. We are still in the 30s, and it's going to be a cold, cold week. It's a little known law that has a lot of people scratching their heads. North Carolina has a tax on illegal drugs that dealers or users are supposed to pay based on how much drugs they have. Wow. WRAL Investigates. Randall Kerr is here now with a preview of a story you'll see on WRAL tonight at 6. Randall, that's quite a statement.
Yeah, this drug law dates back nearly 30 years. It even survived a battle that went all the way to the state Supreme Court because some argued it was too harsh. Now there's a new push to encourage North Carolina to follow other states and get rid of the law that some opponents argue is a lifetime punishment on top of jail time.
People think that it's like the rich drug lord who is being assessed these taxes, but really it's not. It's people who have some drugs, who are assessed a tax, who usually are low income and just trying to get back on their feet.
Tonight at 6, we'll explain how the law works, which includes dealers telling the state how much drugs they have and then paying the tax bill to get special stamps. We'll also break down how much money the state makes from the drug tax, and as you could guess, almost none of it comes from those stamp sales. Opponents have other concerns about how the law works, and you'll hear those tonight at 6 as well.
Okay, well, a lot of people are probably surprised to hear about this drug tax. Who supports it?
Right now, the big support comes from law enforcement. The arresting agency gets 75% of the money, so obviously with arrests going to the state's general fund, so there's a lot of apprehension about taking money away from law enforcement, especially during these times. So right now, that's the big holdup in North Carolina.
All right, WRAL investigating the state's drug tax tonight at 6. Randall, thank you.
And back here in the WRAL Live Center, President Trump delivered his inaugural address that ended about 5 minutes ago at 12:40. He was saying that America's decline is over. He is promising sweeping changes, saying he will completely and totally reverse the Biden era. He said he was also looking to change the name of the Gulf of Mexico to Gulf of America. He says we will end the Green New Deal as well, and we will revoke the electric vehicle mandate, saving our auto industry. He finished off his address by saying our golden age has begun.
All right, one of the bigger things that we've been talking about is how cold it's been, but also how cold it's going to be. Elizabeth Gardner's tracking that for us here in the WRAL Severe Weather Center.
Yeah, we are now embarking on a very cold spell, looking at the next several days as being very cold for us, of course. We take a look at what's happening outside right now. Fayetteville, Raleigh, Apex, Chapel Hill, all clear. Chapel Hill's courtesy of Top of the Hill Restaurant. We will start to see the clouds increasing just a little bit tomorrow as we begin to see the clouds approaching, as we could have a little bit of light snow tomorrow night. This afternoon, temperatures will be in the mid-30s. Then we're going to drop it into the 20s this evening. And the wind chill is going to make it feel even colder than that. Overnight tonight, we're going to drop it into the teens, 12 degrees in Roxborough, 16 in Rocky Mount, 16 in Southern Pines. And of course, that wind chill is going to make it feel more like single digits in a lot of places. 9 in Roxborough, Durham, and Rocky Mount, 9 in Clinton, Fayetteville, Southern Pines, likely to feel like 11 in Goldsboro, 12 in South Hill. And so this is why we have a WRAL weather alert day for tomorrow. It's going to be very cold in the morning. There is a cold weather advisory. It is possible also Wednesday morning that we would have a cold weather advisory, and Wednesday is already a WRAL weather alert day because of the potential for this system. It's beginning to form up over here. See the snow that's starting to develop here over parts of the west, here over Oklahoma and Kansas. That's going to start to dive southward and bring some fairly heavy precipitation, some heavy snow down here around Houston, all the way toward the panhandle of Florida. Watch how that sort of blooms across the area, and that happens tomorrow and tomorrow night. The blue shaded area is where snowfall could be as much as 3 to 6 inches, something that Houston, New Orleans, parts of Florida hardly ever see. The reason we're seeing it this time is the cold air has made it that far south. Futurecast for us tomorrow, we'll see increasing clouds. And of course, as we get into the afternoon and evening, we're going to end up with that potential for some scattered snow showers. That's likely to start around 6 or 7 and continue all the way up until around midnight or so. This is a look at some of that snowfall potential, around half an inch in Fayetteville, maybe a 1/10 of an inch in Raleigh. The brand new models just came in. They haven't shown up here yet, but they're a little bit higher in terms of how much snow we may see, but it's still all under an inch. We're not looking at, any big, beautiful snowfall. But with the cold temperatures and say a 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch of snow, it is likely to be very slippery out there. I know they're out putting brine out, but with the cold temperatures that we're going to see on Tuesday night, it may not help that much. So most of the snow will be along and east of US 1, and that includes the bulk of the viewing area. The farther north you are, say north of I-85, you're not as likely to see any. Whatever falls could stick and make it really slippery out there. The bulk of the snow will be closer to the coast because that's going to be the track of the storm. Looking at 36 this afternoon, 32 for Tuesday and Wednesday, and then 38 on Thursday. So the coldest days will be tomorrow and Wednesday, and of course we have that chance for some scattered snow flurries overnight on Tuesday night into very early Wednesday morning. That is really the only precipitation that we have in the forecast right now. Once we get to the weekend, we're closer to normal. Our normal high temperature this time of year is in the low 50s.
Elizabeth, thanks. Pulling double duty. Solar panels harness the power of the sun. Ahead, we'll explain how farmers can also use them to protect high-dollar crops.
Getting you a live look outside at Raleigh today, and you know what? A lot of sunshine that we're seeing, clear skies. Don't be fooled, though. It's a cold one today, and we have some other cold days along with us. That's why we have a WRAL weather alert day issued for tomorrow and Wednesday, too.
As we wrap things up, here's a look at a few of the headlines that we're following today.
Right now in D.C., the inauguration ceremony for President Trump, it's wrapping up. You're looking live at the event as a series of faith leaders have taken the podium in the last few minutes. President Donald Trump, in his first minutes in office, said he is declaring a national energy emergency to help bring down prices. That is one of his key campaign promises. The new president also said he is going to direct his cabinet to use, quote, the vast powers at their disposal to bring down the cost of goods.
There's a growing number of flowers and cards near the North Hills restaurant Coquette this afternoon. People are remembering Jonathan Schaefer, who was a server there. Police say he was shot and killed by Coquette's head chef, George Colum, Friday. The restaurant is closed today. There's a letter on its door saying they are taking this time to care for staff.
A search warrant details new information regarding Jordan Porter. He's the man charged with killing a family of 3 over Memorial Weekend in Garner. Authorities believe Porter was drunk and high. The new warrant claims Porter's wife, Shelby, is being investigated for obstruction of justice after a conversation over deleting photos off a cell phone. Jordan Porter is still in jail.
The champagne industry wants you to find something to celebrate. Sales of the bubbly dropped about 10% last year. The trade association, representing more than 300 champagne houses, points to inflation-weary consumers and a political wait-and-see in some of the beverage's biggest global markets. Now, in addition to a global glumness, grapes to make champagne, they can only come from one region in France to be called Champagne. And that area has dealt with extreme heat and cold in the last few years.
Yeah, I know alcohol sales in general have been kind of challenging with some of the things climate change has affected too. So it's interesting. Solar panels can do more than just provide clean energy for farmers. Researchers at Washington State University say they can also protect high-dollar crops such as apples. They found that placing the panels in the orchards can prevent sunburn. Yes, apples can get sunburned. Up to half of the harvest of some sensitive varieties, including Honeycrisp and Granny Smith, can be harmed by sun exposure.
When it gets really hot, the sunlight actually will heat up the surface temperature of the apples and cause physiological defects that most people would look at and say, it looks like rot.
The panels are already in use in Europe to protect wine grapes and some vegetables. This move could actually quickly pay for itself between energy costs and being able to sell more crops.
Bone-chilling temperatures added to the atmosphere of an outdoor art exhibit in Minneapolis. The annual Art Shanty project opened over the weekend. So this invites artists to display their work in or around repurposed ice fishing shanties. This year's displays include a 3-ring circus and a film studio, and an interactive display where visitors weave yarn into panels that cover the walls. They have to get creative to really embrace the snow there in Minnesota. Well, today's pet of the day is named Gideon. So Gideon here is looking for a forever home.
Aww.
He loves routine and he lives for meat treats.
He looks like the goodest boy right there. Gideon has lived a rough life, unfortunately, so he truly appreciates any kindness, especially a safe crate with a comfortable bed. You can call AARF to meet this fella. The number is right there on your screen. You can call that, 919-894-1111. Adoption is free, just so you know, to all retired military or servicemen. AI in the doctor's office, how a local hospital is using artificial intelligence during your doctor's visits, and what it means for the future of healthcare. That's at 4.
Beautiful afternoon out there, but we're only going to get to a high of 36 degrees, and that's going to feel warm in the next few days. We do have a WRAL weather alert day for Tuesday and Wednesday because of the cold temperatures. It will feel like the single digits and the teens.
Oof. Well, thank you so much for watching WRAL's Noon News. You can get breaking news updates anytime with our WRAL News app. Hope you have a great day today.
Keep watching WRAL News over the air Channel 34 and Spectrum Channel 1257.